예, 안녕하세요.
Hi everyone, I am Sang-Seock from KOBC. Can I see the slides? So I am going to, when you hear about Arctic routes, well, this may be new term for some people, but this is also an actively researched term as well. But for some people, you may not know what Arctic route is, and you may think it's quite awkward to hear about that here, but I want to give you an overview of what Arctic route is and how we're planning to go for that. I have about 8 chapters prepared. In the interest of time, I would like to skip some parts. So with the Lee Jae-myung administration, well, number 56 of the government task is Arctic route. Arctic route is basically using the Arctic route near the Russia during summertime. With the severe global warming, the Arctic route is getting a lot of attention and importance, and as Hana Shipping said, well, the Hormuz Straits and also the geopolitical tensions, people are looking for alternative routes, and that is why we are going for Arctic routes. In the case of energy, we are mostly importing them from the Middle East. And for coals, we're importing them mostly from Australia. And there could be some tensions between China and Taiwan too. And if the sea routes are contained as a result, then, well, the stockpiles that we have, well, we don't have a lot of them, so there needs to be alternative routes and alternative areas to source them. So that's one reason and one background. And also we're seeing a lot of ice melting quickly. Well, this is not a good news, but because of global warming, this is happening. And last week I went to China's Nunu Shipping. This is this company has went to Russia 22 times this year, but they haven't used ice class ships. They used they didn't use expensive ship. They just used normal ships. Well, icebreakers and ice class ships are different. Icebreakers are basically breaking ice, and they are the escort ships for the nuclear propelled ships for Russia. And once the icebreaker breaks the ice, other ships can go forward. So these normal ships, without the help of icebreakers, were able to go this route 22 times. And also during the summertime, they can even use container ships to go this route, and that was of significant use to me. And this can, and also about the cost reduction, we need to conduct more investigation because depending on the cargo type, the cost may differ, but the time may go down. But as for the actual cost, as for Suez Canal, we can have about 23,000 TEU. But for this, the TEU may differ, so the cost reduction may not be as big. And in the initial phase, the commercial logic enough will not be enough. And that is why the government or the government financing institution should be able to provide incentives, at least in the beginning. And I am going to go into details in the latter part. So let's take a look at the operations. Arctic routes, well, it's divided into NSR and NWR, so it's divided into two parts. But for commercial operations, we can't really take the Alaskan route, and that is why we have to take the NSR in the Russian region. But this northwestern route is very meaningful, especially with the trade talks and negotiations. And if we are to import fuel from Alaska, this route may be important, but right now NSR is more economically feasible because the ice melts faster there. But Russia is being heavily sanctioned, and you may wonder what you can do amidst the situation. And yes, of course, Russia is under sanction right now. And if sanctions are lifted, And if we start after that, then it would take additional like 1 or 2 years. So once Russia's sanction is lifted, it will be too late. So we would have to start preparing right now. And also, uh, our Korea is geographically favorably positioned. The last port to go to the US route is Busan port, and that is why the Busan port grew a lot. But in the case of Europe, the Singapore is the last port. But when this NSR is opened, Busan will be the last port for the European route as well. Also, we have to think about environmental protection. When you go to the Arctic area, right now we use the bunker C fuel, but for us, we have to build the eco-friendly ice class ships because we cannot remove the oil once they stick to the ice. And this means that we have more competitiveness in shipbuilding, and also in Ulsan there is a high-class bunkering capacity, and KOBC has invested in Ulsan and Yeosu, and we have completed the investment in methanol, and we're planning to invest in another kind of fuel. And also this means that we can do a bunkering system with Busan, and that means that Busan is geographically well located for this route to be commercialized. We are saying that this route is going to be opened newly, but it's not that we're exploring this new route from the beginning because it is currently being used. And about 20 years ago, the bulkers were able to go there already with additional companies, but of course the climate has changed. But once Russian sanction is lifted, we hope to take LNG from Yamal and to Korea, and of course the US may ask us to buy their vessels, but still this can be a good option. And LNG is coming from Qatar a lot, so if we take the Arctic route, we will be able to find commercial viability. As for the container ship, we are currently under negotiation, so we won't be able to disclose the details, but the new shipping, well, for they are running for about 4 months in the summertime, and the Korean shipping companies, they are participating as a joint operator. And also based on that, well, because Russia is currently sanctioned, we can't work with Russia, but now working with China, we are thinking about ways to do joint operation. And Chinese lines, they need shipping finance from Korea, so we cannot provide shipping finance to Chinese companies directly, but we can work with the Korea shipping lines to create maybe an SPC and provide shipping financing. So this could be a win-win for both China and Korea. And also these technical and economic and geopolitical, restraints. Of course, there are there. And the point is about addressing these difficulties, and we are working on this right now. So what, how can we support this program at the KOBC? When you do the trial operation, there could be a loss in the beginning, so we can cover the losses, and we can we cannot provide subsidies from the KOBC budgets. So that is why we are planning to create a fund of about 1 trillion won. And once this is created, then we can use that profits for the incentive packages. We can provide, for example, we can train the seafarers, and also we can cover the losses for the operations. So we can use the profits from the funds there. And there's also a pioneer program. Let's say that we go from in July of next year, still we're too late. So that is why we have to work with the shippers and shipping companies and shipbuilders, and we are already under negotiations over this. And so we are planning to create a Team Korea as one team so that we do a pilot operation in July. We're not sure whether it's going to be bulker or container, but we are going to create this one team approach so that we can make this possible. So this Arctic Route Fund is important. When we have the fund, then we can then for in the case of like financial products, we don't need fund because we have the financial program ourselves. And we have about 5 bills pending on the National Assembly regarding Arctic Route development. And this is about designating the hub port in Korea so that we can make investments in the terminals, or we can invest in the safe ports in Russia, or bunkering, or the ship financing. That's all included in the financial package. And this financial package do not have to go through the fund. We can do it ourselves at KOBC. And for subsidies, well, we can provide it with the profits from operating the funds. So either we create the fund or we go for a different option. We can use those funds for the, marine equipment or shipbuilding, something that we haven't been able to do before, like building the ice class ships or supporting the shipbuilding companies and so forth. And I guess you're all aware of this, but the vessels, well, when you create these icebreakers or ice class ships, it takes about 3 times more than normal ships. And if it's eco-friendly ships, then it would be much bigger in prices. For example, it would be about 300 billion ships as compared to 100 billion ship, and that means that you need to have profitability. And if you just operate in the summertime, you won't be able to maintain profitability. And when I heard from Union Shipping, when they build ice class ships, they say that they can operate it 365 days a year. Of course, we have to look into whether this is possible, but if that is the case, if the container ships can be operated every day, then we can say that this new route is commercially viable. So we can provide support for the marine equipment and infrastructure and ship financing and so forth. As for the Arctic route, well, Russian ports are quite aged right now, so new investments are needed. President Putin has one 10-year plan to modernize port and airport. And in the case of airports, the plan has been implemented, but that has not been the case for the ports. And as for the LNG vessels, Japan already has the right to develop the land in Yemen, and China also have the right to develop the ports in some areas. And once Russian sanctions are lifted, it means that Japan can move faster than us, and China is already moving right now. But if we become much slower than right now, then we will be losing out on the opportunity to develop the Arctic routes. So that is why some people say that we can go slower because there's still a lot of ice there, but that is not the case. It is still not early, we are already late. So let's say that we do a test operation in July next year, then we have to do the feasibility report investigation, and we have to also look at the legality, and we also have to look at how many of the similar spec vessels can be operated, and also we have to look at the specific routes of that Arctic route. So for example, until what part should we utilize the Arctic route? We are already doing the feasibility study for that, and I believe that the early results can come out next month. And the shippers and the ship owners and logistics companies participating in this group, we are going to share this results. And the database for this test operation, we are going to collect the data for that and share it with the players so that the Arctic routes can become a viable option for the shippers and the shipping lines. So we are going to serve as a bridge for these players. This ends my presentation. Thank you very much.